Welcome to Movie Recap. In today's video, we will be going through the 2007 horror mystery movie Captivity. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. In a bustling city, there is an unknown assailant who enjoys abducting and torturing other people, and he is still at large, continuing his crime. His next target is a rising fashion model, Jennifer, so he starts to stalk his victim and records her personal life. Jennifer's company turns down her application of taking a vacation, so she has to go to a charitable activity that evening in a bar with her dog. But gradually, she feels dizzy due to the drinking. Jennifer realizes that she must have been drugged, so she wants to go to the washroom and vomit what she has drunk. But in the corridor, she finds a camera which is playing her every action in the bar. Then she is attacked by someone and loses her consciousness. When Jennifer wakes up, she hears the sounds of seabirds with dizziness. She walks to the window but soon finds that what she saw just now turns out to be a projection image. She is totally frightened and cowers in the corner. In the dim light, Jennifer realizes she is locked in a cell where it contains a lot of personal items taken from her apartment and a huge poster about herself. She feels so scared by those things. Suddenly, the metal drawer on the wall is opened and there is a drink and a card with some words on it. But in anger, Jennifer doesn't take it. She throws the cup to the wall and breaks all the other things, prepared for her barking an order at the hidden kidnapper to let her go. But her resistance is made in vain, oppressed by a burst of narcotic gas. Jennifer soon faints again. When she wakes up, she finds herself lying on an operating table which is used to punish other victims before. In front of her, there is a television playing a cruel recording about a girl being abused with acid. Though the girl was crying and begging for mercy, she was killed nevertheless. Now it seems that the kidnapper intends to treat Jennifer the same way. Jennifer is in great horror. She begs in despair for the kidnapper to stop, but to no avail. Some unknown liquid drips down on her face, then she faints again. Later, Jennifer wakes up from the nightmare and she can feel her face tied up in bandages. But under the bandages, the wound on her face is just a fake one. Jennifer is totally confused. She then takes the key from the drawer and opens the cupboard, seeing that there is a set of revealing suit. Immediately, she tears the suit and throws it away in anger, which, however, brings her a lot of suffering. The room is soon flooded with the harsh sound that makes her feel extremely painful. She can't bear it, but hide under the bed to alleviate the pain. After the sound fades out, Jennifer finds a dropped blade and uses it to remove the screws of the ventilation duct. She then squeezes into the duct, but before she can move a little further, the duct is suddenly sawed, and she is stuck in the middle. The kidnapper grabs her arm and forces her to take a shot of anesthetic, causing her to faint again and be confined to the operation table to make her obey him totally. The kidnapper mashes fragments of other people's bodies into pulp and forces Jennifer to swallow it all. While Jennifer falls asleep, the kidnapper continues to make a book collection about the details of torturing and killing her. On the other hand, Jennifer wakes up and finds some light piercing through the paint on the glass wall. She checks it and discovers a few words on the glass in that way. Jennifer knows about a man, Gary, who was also abducted in the opposite cell. The man gives her a box of matches through the shutters. Jennifer lights the match so that they can see a small part of each other's faces. Then they begin to talk about their experience after being kept in captivity. Jennifer and Gary decide to escape from there together. When she wakes up from a dream the next day, Gary already cleans up all the paint on the wall, so they can see each other very clearly now. But it seems that the kidnapper is just playing games with him. He can know everything behind the screen watching them, talking about their escaping plan. He turns off the light to scare Jennifer and then comes to Gary's room and knocks him out. Jennifer shrinks in the corner with fear, but the kidnapper comes to her and makes her faint again. When Jennifer wakes up, she finds herself locked in confinement, which is slowly filled up with the falling sand. Outside the space, there is a sand glass counting down the time of her death, while Jennifer can do nothing but cry out in despair. Fortunately, Gary wakes up at the same time and he begins to find a way to save Jennifer. Soon after, he discovers a leak in the ventilation duct. He takes an iron bar and crawls through the duct to get her at the very critical moment. Gary breaks the top of the space and helps her escape the confinement. Then they escape through the duct and search to another room in dim light. They find a totally festered female body in a bathtub. The kidnapper comes to catch them, so they run to the garage and get into the car, trying to smash through the shutter door for escape. But Gary loses his consciousness due to the crash locked inside the car. Jennifer is also knocked out by the sleeping gas as a punishment for an attempt to escape. The kidnapper even forces her to kill her dog. When waking up again, she finds that she is changed into a new dress and Gary is put in the adjoining cell. She realizes the kidnapper may want to control them both mentally and physically, so she opens the cupboard with the key and wears the attractive dress, prepared for her making herself hormone-changing to the kidnapper. It seems that the kidnapper is pleased by her obedience. He allows Gary and Jennifer to be together in one cell, but then he turns off its lights and plays a recording on television about how he tortured other victims. Before Gary can bear it anymore and breaks the monitor in anger, resulting in the punishments to him, he is tied to the operation table, suffering endless tortures. Jennifer is so worried about him, but her own situation is no better than Gary. The kidnapper ties her up on the operation table with Gary and plays a video about the kidnapper's own childhood. From that, Jennifer gets to know the kidnapper killed his mother, who was a drug addict, and recorded the bloody crime scenes. Jennifer is terrified to see the killing and trembles in fear. The kidnapper shows up later with a pair of pliers, trying to make her suffer the pain. In order to distract him away from Jennifer, Gary confronts the kidnapper, but at the expense of losing one of his teeth. Jennifer is touched by Gary for what he did to protect her, so she offers him a fast hormone game as compensation for his lost tooth. 2 minutes later, Gary gets up while Jennifer falls to sleep right there. He seems not so helpless as before. He uses a card to open a secret door behind the mirror. Walking up the stairs, he comes to a room which seems to be the bedroom of the kidnapper there. The television is still playing the killing of the kidnapper's mother before the woman died. She called out the name of her son, Gary. It reveals that Gary and the kidnapper are brothers. They kidnap young girls to satisfy their own lust. But after being together with Jennifer these days, he really thinks that Jennifer is the Miss Right in his life, so he hopes his brother can let her go. But the brother tells him that woman is untrustworthy. The best way to memorize his favorite girl is to keep her face in the recordings and collection books. Gary soon understands that it is impossible to persuade his brother in words, so he resorts to actions. He stabs his brother in the chest and then drags him into the tub. As he plans to leave there with Jennifer, he's astonished to find 2 unexpected detectives, who visit to investigate his brother based on some clues they have got. Despite Gary telling them that his brother is not at home for the time being, the 2 enter the house. While waiting for his brother, they begin to watch the football game on TV, but later happen to see Jennifer locked in the basement. Gary has no choice but to shoot the 2 detectives, then he comes back to wake Jennifer up, lying that he has killed the perpetrators when they are inattentive. But when they are out of the basement, one of the detectives who has survived charges at Jennifer, mistaking him for the kidnapper. The panicking Jennifer takes a bat and beats the detective to death. Gary says something to comfort Jennifer and tells her they need to clean the mess and the recordings of this room need to be destroyed, so that no one will know she has killed someone here. Still in great panic, Jennifer agrees with everything he said and stays upstairs waiting for Gary to clean up all the bloody mess. But soon, she discovers several collections in a cupboard labeled with different names. Respectively, one of them even shows her name. Driven by curiosity, she opens the book and is horrified to find that it records all the details of the plan of how to kidnap and tame her, and the incriminating photos with Gary in it as well. She is shocked by the truth and suddenly attacked by Gary's brother, who survives the deadly blow, thanks to his fat body. However, Jennifer struggles to fight back and finally kills him. Then she wants to escape away from the house immediately. But the doors and windows are all locked. At the same time, she hears a ringing bell which seems to be from the cell phone of one of the dead men. She races to check it and realizes the man who she has just killed is actually a detective. She tries to calm down and pretends to be obedient to Gary, helping him with the cleaning. Right then, she takes a choice to spray the pungent liquid into his eyes. While Gary is struggling, Jennifer returns to the basement and breaks the main power switch. Then she goes back to her cell and finds a gun left by Gary's brother. However, she doesn't know how to use it at all, so soon after, she is overpowered by the coming Gary. But Jennifer doesn't just wait to be killed. Observing how Gary is using the gun, Jennifer rises to fight against Gary at her full strength. She manages to grab the gun back and shoots Gary down in blood. Then she breaks the huge poster and uncovers the secret passage leading to outside. She flees out of the damned house. Finally, Jennifer is relieved with pleasure and joy after her survival from the horrible abduction. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.